Did you know that the Egyptians fought against the British in two separate wars? And did you also know that the Egyptians won both of them? Well, you do now. The first Egyptian-British war was fought in 1881. At the time, Egypt was ruled by a man named Ismail Pasha, who was a pasha, basically meaning governor. But really, he was just an appointed puppet ruler of Egypt, while the real power was held by a British agent named Evelyn Wood. Now, Ismail wasn't too happy about this arrangement, and secretly started planning to overthrow the British and become the first president of a new Egyptian republic. But before he could make his move, the British found out about his plan and arrested him. They then exiled him from Egypt and put one of their own men in charge of the country. Needless to say, the Egyptians were not happy about this turn of events. So many of them started to support an anti-British movement led by a man named Ahmed Orabi, a fellahin, meaning that he was a leader of the Egyptian peasantry, or as we would say today, the common people. On June 9, 1881, Orabi led a group of about 30,000 protesters to the presidential palace in Cairo to demand the restoration of Ismail Pasha and an end to British influence in Egypt. When the British refused, Orabi and his men attacked, killing at least 54 British soldiers and civilians. This attack, known as the Orabi Revolt, caught the British completely off guard, and they soon realized that they had made a big mistake by underestimating the Egyptians. To put down the rebellion, the British had to call in reinforcements from India and bring in 60,000 more troops to occupy Egypt. Eventually, the British were able to defeat the Egyptians and crush the rebellion. But it wasn't easy, and it was clear to everyone that the Egyptians had the potential to be a real threat if they had better leadership and organization. In the aftermath of the rebellion, the British were more cautious when dealing with the Egyptians. They knew that they had to be more sensitive to Egyptian nationalism and public opinion if they wanted to avoid another conflict. So they began to invest in infrastructure projects, schools and hospitals to win over the hearts and minds of the Egyptian people. It seemed to be working too. For several decades, there was no major opposition to British rule in Egypt. But then, World War I happened. When the war started, the British asked Egypt for help. They needed supplies and resources to support their war effort, and they thought that the Egyptians would be happy to help, since they were part of the British Empire. But they were wrong. Instead of helping the British, many Egyptians protested against the war, seeing it as an opportunity to get rid of the British once and for all. They launched a series of attacks against the British, targeting supply convoys and military installations. But again, the Egyptians were defeated, and the war ended with the British victory. But even in victory, the British couldn't crush the Egyptian spirit. In fact, during the war, the Egyptian army had its own hero, a man named Ayyub Ansari al-Harbi, who led a group of guerrillas in the Egyptian-Turkish War. He was known as the Arab Sphinx because of his mysterious origins and his military genius. Although he never won a battle, he inflicted so many casualties on the British that they offered him a noble title and a seat on the Egyptian Legislative Council. So there you have it, two wars between the Egyptians and the British, both won by the Egyptians. What does it tell us? Well, I'll let you decide. But if you ask me, it tells me that the Egyptians are one of the greatest civilizations in history and that they should be studied more. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.